Now let's have a look at an audio amplifier, or AV receiver as it says on the front. Now supposedly this doesn't work, but I have not turned it on yet. It's Pioneer VSX-930, and it's got all these features like Bluetooth and LAN and Sabari. It's missing one knob there. It probably can't be controlled without the remote. I don't have the remote. On the back, it's pretty heavy. It's got some aerials, LAN, quite a few HDMI component input for video, which is something I'm interested in. I'm wondering, can this be used to convert a 1080i component into HDMI? We will need to test that because that's something that I want to have. Speakers, some coax and optical input for digital, another aerial. Let's have a look inside it first, and then we'll try turning it on and see if it does anything. Well, supposedly it powers up, but there's no sound. Maybe it's got wet. There's some sort of corrosion on the screw. I don't know where this came from or who had it before. I've got a whole pile of these various models of amplifier that are in various states of disrepair. Are there any screws on the back? Yes. Oh, it's been dented in the corner. It's been dropped. Guess it's fairly new because it supposedly supports 4K 60 Hz on the HDMI ports. Oh, was there another one I forgot? Yes. Look at all that stuff. Pretty big heatsink. Quite dirty. Oh, look at that. The HDMI from the front just uses an actual HDMI cable to bring the signal up to the board here. Guess that means it can support high performance, because they needed to use an actual cable to bring it up rather than just like some ribbon cable thing. It looks like it might have got wet. There's crust on this board here. Kind of rusty, juicy stuff on there. That's not a very good sign, is it? So maybe this thing's hooped. Maybe it's been out in the rain. It does kind of look dirty, like it's been outside. That's a shame. It's definitely kind of muddy. That board there, that's all the amplifier. You can see this big row of devices on that heatsink there. Well, somewhere power will get onto that board, and somehow power gets onto the board. It might be from that. The C main windings from the transformer come off, go down. There's a rectifier there. Guessing the main caps are under there. Then there's probably the audio signals coming into the amplifier. Perhaps what we should do is try taking this top board off and clean it a bit to see what kind of state it's in before we try turning anything on. Let's do that for fun. Let's get this board out. That might be the USB from the front. Maybe that's the only other thing on the front there. USB. Nope, that's that. Don't know what that is then. This is some door on this that opens, but I don't think so. Or maybe it goes all the way over to that. Earphones? Don't know. Notice the volume control, very stiff to turn. Alright, we'll try and get this board out and then we can take a closer look at it and see whether it might be recoverable or not. I think this sideboard here will have to come out too because it looks like it's covered in mud at the moment. It's not ideal. So I'm going to undo all of the screws. Every HDMI plug has got a screw on it. So that explains why that screw looked like it had corrosion on it. Guessing it was sitting outside for a while. But who knows if that's the only thing wrong with it. If that's the cause of the problem, or was there something else wrong with it before it got left outside. This is attached to lots of things. There's another board down there which is attached to that. There's this front edge, I think it's just hanging there. Then there's this one here, just plugged into. Then there's the aerials that will have to come off. And the optical port seems a little bit loose and munted. Okay, we have to cut off some cable ties. Internal HDMI, that's pretty exciting. That off, whatever that is. there's some sort of switch mode power supply over here, which will be something that runs all of the time, and then when you kick the power on, there's probably a relay on that board. Yeah, down in the corner there, that will turn on this main power transformer to switch on the amplifier. This is quite serious power supply down here. It probably runs quite a lot of stuff without having the main amplifier on. Oh, there's also a ribbon. Let's pull that out carefully before we destroy it. Well, I'll try to. It's really stuck. Not destroying it. Get that off. There's some sort of sludge there. It's had mud. Been rolling around in the mud. Oh, there's also a shielding thing. That cable tie there. That's nice. They give you the pinout of the connectors. Oh, they must have had selective soldering. Look at it with a mask. Or it's gone like a pellet thing through the wave solder. And the flux they've used is really thick and not being cleaned off, because you can see the edges of where that was masked down there, along there. Selective soldering maybe? I don't know, I didn't think that would leave such a mess. Unless that's some kind of coating they've put on afterwards. Weird. Alright, the board's clean on that side, but on this side there's crud. It's just got this Panasonic chip to do the switching of the HDMI signals, but the last three, so those are the outputs, there's those three inputs go to this Panasonic chip, and then the last three go through the silicon image. There's also another input there coming from, oh yeah, that, okay, so which is coming from the front, so the fourth input is also through that chip. There's probably another input going into something, into here probably, to bring on-screen display and the component and composite into there and to bring the audio in. I think it's just dirty, so we should be able to wash that off. And perhaps we should take off this wireless thing, see what's under that. Quite a munty connector. 2 rows of pin here there. It looks like it's 1.27 pitch. It does say dip, so I guess it has been wave soldered. Just must have a pellet. Is that what they call it? The thing that masks off all the other bits, because you can't wave through these things. Too high density, no scavenger pads, and they want to keep all the test points clean. So we surface mount soldered that side first, then flipped over, and then the rest of it done, especially because you don't want to put these caps through the reflow oven more than once. Okay, I'm going to try and clean that board, but in the meantime, let's look at some of this other stuff. There's another whole thing in there. I guess that there is a board that connects down the row of analog audio. So I guess there's ADCs and things going on there. There is a chip there. Analog to digital. Doofy is probably the digital to analog as well, because this cord that comes over to the amplifiers goes there. And that, you can see the D-thump relays for the amplifiers, and also the main input caps there. So yeah, those wires coming across are a mixture of the speaker wires and the power supplies coming over to the amplifier. There's a bit stink though, isn't it, having the main capacitors here and then some flimsy little wires going over to the amplifier. You really want the capacitors close to the amplifier switching devices. Okay, so that thing there they call the CPU PCB. Ain't much CPUs on that though. Guess it's that. That's the CPU. Don't know what that is. It says R5F100MHA. That's all dirty as well. Maybe we should pull that out. And what a hassle this is turning out to be. Let's take it all apart. It's all cable tied together. Some sort of bit of PCB on the side here that is locking things together. Goes into a hole, so it holds it in. I guess there's a Bluetooth aerial on this somewhere. Okay. Wow, that was a really long screw. And there's a weird thing there. What is that? Like some dross from soldering or some solder that splashed somewhere. That's a little bit concerning, isn't it? Don't really want things like that floating around. It's a pretty gross looking solder job on that. Maybe that's what it came off of. Yeah, I think it's just mud or dust that's all over this thing, and we just wash that. That thing in there they call audio board looks clean, and this power supply board on the other side, we need to get that out to inspect that, because especially without having quite high voltages on it, it needs to be clean. That's very important. So there's a plug there which goes to the transformer. It's just QC's coming off that for the AC input. If you cut cable ties near the bit where it enters, you can reuse them on something that needs a slightly shorter cable tie. Okay, so that's a power supply. Oh, it's not as grunty as I thought. It's just one of those little like top switch type things. Some generic one, some other brand. So there's a rectifier, input capacitor, 400 volt, 100 mic, then transformer, switching will be in that. Yeah, see, common together that side of the collector, and then output there's a rectifier diode there, some caps, 6.3 volt caps, some filtering, solid electrolyte type capacitor, that which is probably a TL431 reference, and then some feedback. It's a weird layout, it's very spaced out, but that's okay. Some input filtering, fuses. Great. So I'm going to wash these boards and perhaps clean out some of this stuff. There's quite a bit of rust on the transformer. And then once that's done and they're dried and everything looks nice again, we'll try turning it on and see what happens. I don't know, should I take out more stuff? Maybe we'll take out more stuff. We might as well take out more stuff. Or maybe we should wait until... Let's just take out stuff. Just go in with no plan and just make it up as we go along. The usual approach. So I'm doing this board that's got the copper shield plate thing on it. Oh, I think it will just come out together, won't it? We really have to take the back off because we've got to lean it all forward. It says manufacturer date August 2015. So that's 7 something years old. Yeah, there's this stuff. There's a plastic shield thing stuck over the speaker area, covering up a whole bunch of screws. And so that thing is put around the... Okay, so if you could just get those dot things off, which I tried, then yeah, you can get to the screws. Okay, back panel is now off. Now we can get this board off. Oh, easy. The audio board, as it says there, and you can see that chip that it's got, BD3473KS2. Presume is some audio analog to digital converter. You can see it's got heaps of tracks going over to there and up to here. Yeah, it's all the different channels there. You see front, left, out, surround left, subwoofer, and all that stuff goes over to here, which goes up to that top board. And then this wire here, which goes to the amplifier, you can see there, surround back, front right, surround right, center, surround left, front left. So now we can see the arrangement of the amplifier, and it's got the channels written there, front right, surround back is what that is. And nice of them, they left holes in the board so you can get to the screws that hold the devices onto the heatsink. That's a very good touch. Then there's a bunch of regulators and things down there. Main input rectifier. So I'm going to clean this stuff. Something there. Temperature det PCB. Yes, it's two little NTC things. Close that. I can tell you if the transformer's overheating. I find it so weird that there's no obvious power supply going over to the amplifier. And there's another CPU thing on the front. It'll probably be mainly a display driver. Great. I'll clean this up a bit. I got this board nice and clean, give it a little wash, and that went well. Everything cleaned off. I cleaned the other boards. Did notice that capacitor looks bent over, but if it's just laying on an angle, I guess that's fine. But if it's been pushed It might not be very good because it would have ripped the foil off inside it. Anyway, we'll pretend that's fine, and it's going to start putting it all back together. And then I realize this here, the backside of the amplifier board, is all covered in mud as well. So we're going to do something about that. Pretty gross down there, just like it is on the fins of the heatsink. But yeah, so I was thinking, do we pull the whole thing out, or do I just undo the board and try and swivel it back? Although there's probably not enough space for that, is there? I think these are all keyed. Okay, let's just pull the whole thing out. I started undoing the screws, thinking we pull the board back. Yeah, but even if we take the whole amplifier out, we still can't get the thing off without unscrewing all of the devices from the heatsink, which I'm not doing that. We'll just have to bend it back a bit and hope that we can recover it. Okay, it should be just 4 screws now. Don't even know if any of this is going to work. At least we got to look inside an amplifier. We got screws from the bottom too, isn't it? Feels like it. It's very solid still. Okay, get this out of the way, and then we're going to look at the amplifier board. This still needs more dusting out. Okay, I'm hoping I can just get a brush down there. A whole row of crust in there. Devices soldered on there. If I take them off, then we've got to repaste everything. I'll just try giving it a wipe, and hopefully that'll be enough. A brush, hopefully that'll be enough. Alright, I was able to get a toothbrush down there and brush the back of the board, and look at that. That's all the stuff that came out. Quite a bit of stuff. So I think we're all good now with that. Sorted that out. Without ruining it too much, hopefully. I think we can screw that back together. So I've got to brush out the bottom. I'll just tip it upside down. That will get all this stuff out. And then we can put the heatsink back in. And then I think we can put the other stuff back in. And then we're probably ready for a smoke test. Then we get to find out for real if there's anything wrong with this thing. Okay, I'll bang this out and then tidy up the mess. Alright, we're going to put this back together. And then we'll see what happens when we try it out. That's not very good, is it? Yeah, that pin's mounted. Yeah, there's not very much lead in for those pins, so give some sort of excuse as to why it didn't go in nicely. Really wide ribbon cable. Now we have this board, which needs to go to several places, side and there, and then this ribbon cable. I don't think there's anything else under here that we have to do. And that's plugged in. Cables down there are plugged in. Quite tricky to remove, I remember. Internal HDMI. Those connectors are really hard to get in far enough. Such that I don't think any of the ones down here actually did go in far enough. Yes, I'm pretty sure the ones down here aren't actually in. Because they just can't, there's nowhere to put leverage on them. Anyway, I'm sure I'll get over it. Whatever that thing was. And then that thing there. Probably everything plugged back in. Except the aerials and stuff. But there's internal screws holding things together. Have I got all of those in? Where do all these screws go? Okay, there's the other little board. I noticed the Ethernet wire goes, the Ethernet tracks go straight into this thing. So this must be a all-in-one networkinator. Hopefully it's not rusted out inside this thing. It seems a little bit rusty around the bottom of the shield plate. I don't know if that bottom one's soldered on or not. Oh, we can open it. I think the top one's soldered on. It seems like it's just the metal that's a bit rusty. The circuit board itself is fine. Well, that's lucky. But yeah, look, it's had water sitting in it. There's a special little red colour screw or orange. Now all these really tiny short screws for these HDMI connectors. Pretty sure there wasn't anything else to wire up, was there? What else have we forgot? Did we forget anything? I guess we'll see if there's any screws left over at the end of this. And those more meaning, are there any internal wires that we haven't plugged in? Putting this all back together as though it's going to work. We'll see. So we're actually screws short. There's something I'm put together that I'm not supposed to put together. Alright, shall we juice this thing up and see what it does? Put some speakers on it perhaps as well. Alright, I'll get this set up so we can try giving it a smoke test. Okay, I've got some speakers hooked up. Got a HDMI input and output hooked up to it. I'll connect the power, then we'll turn that on and we'll see what it does. Problem is I don't have a remote, and I probably need a remote to like set it up, control it. So on HDMI 5 we see this. So it is getting through. Presumably there would be audio. Really? You gotta do that? Oh, why does it keep saying unsupported? On my monitor in front of me it's fine. Yeah, we have to wait for this. I think there'd be some... I did think I heard the D-thump relay click, so maybe there won't be any sound. Press A when you're ready. Yeah, see, there should be some noise by now, shouldn't there? Which there isn't. Yeah, well, guess the amplifier doesn't work. We need to work out what's going on there. Oh, speakers on. Still doesn't make any noise though, does it? Let's turn on another zone. Oh, this waiting device. Now, so we're in a different zone now. I'm wondering if it means we need to join some speakers to the other zone output. I don't know, it seems pretty dead, doesn't it? Now what I would have to do is get a scope on it and see if there's any audio going to the amplifier. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to do was check, is there any... Can I get it to convert a component signal to a HDMI, component video to HDMI? The problem is I don't know how to, because you need to do some sort of configuration to configure the component input. They call it SAT cable, so I'd have to put it on that mode. Doesn't seem to exist. Alright, I don't know, I'll just fiddle around with this for a while. Okay, I haven't been able to get it to do anything useful, but what I have noticed is try plugging it in network to it. Don't really know what to do with that. There's a pin there that has been pushed back and ripped the pad off the board. So yeah, maybe that was important. It does say on the board the VLSCK. I think that's important. Maybe that's important. Just wondering, it's so hard to get these things on and off. Is there a way of connecting that back? Just from here I can't even see where the track goes off of that. Why didn't that go in? It must have been bent slightly out without wrecking everything else. Yeah, because I was looking at where would I need to, just thinking of probing the input to the amplifier to see if there was any sound going to the input of the amplifier. Yeah, see that? One pin got pushed back. These connectors are just really horrible. So I could push that back through, and then like the track that got ripped off. It's because the pin's very slightly not aligned. Slightly bent. I guess it got bent when it was pulled off. Well, I can try and fix that, but I don't know if that's going to change anything. I think by luck there's a test point next to it. This is all too small, I can't see it properly. Too old, blind. Let's see. So it's that one there, and the wire comes out, and there's a test point there. So we got to put a wire between that and a test point to repair the problem. I'll do that. I don't think it's going to fix the problem though, is it? Because, you know, what is the problem? Nobody knows. At least then we're in a position that we can measure the input of the amplifier and see if anything happens. Got a wire somewhere here. That's dirty as well. Anyway, I'm going to try to put this back in. It's got a little link of wire now there. Who knows if the board down this side at the bottom has got the same thing happening. You just can't tell because you can't see in there. And we have to take it all apart again to see in there. How can we even put this back? It's like an annoying shielding flap thing. So it's two pins that got wrecked. Putting it back together. Connectors are very horrible. Yeah, see that pin's just poking itself out again. It's not lined up properly, even though I straightened it. There's no lead in to these. Everything just has to be 100% perfect, otherwise they won't go in at all. Okay, it looks like it will go in now. These ones, on the other hand, I can't even see in there. Oh yeah, it feels like they're going in. I wonder if that's enough. They're not engaged until the clip clicks in, but they are kind of in there. Okay, should we juice this up again? Let's see if it changed anything. Doubt it changed anything. Let's just try. Oh! Okay, it goes now. Really? Oh, there you go. All you had to do was solder a wire. I suppose you can hear it. It's coming out of the speakers. I guess the on-screen display thing's still flickering around for whatever reason. Don't really know why doing that. No idea why that's happening. I don't understand because, well, maybe there was nothing wrong with this in the first place. Because it was bought from some recycling place and the comment was, powers on, no sound. You see, but when you turn it on, you have to push a button on the front to turn on the speakers specifically. These speakers off, speakers on. I was doing that before, but presumably because of that serial clock or whatever line that was pooped, it didn't work. But if we had tried it when it was all muddy to start with, it probably would have worked fine. Alright then. Yeah, but we haven't achieved the goal yet, which was get the component input to work. And I don't know how to get that to work because I don't know how to select it. I cycle through all of the inputs that it's got here. None of them are cable TV, which is what the default assignment for the component input is. You can see there, or SAT/cable. There ain't no SAT/cable option in the currently configured input selection, which means you need to get into some sort of setup menu and enable that as one of the things that it can have. And it's really slow at selecting inputs. Yeah, I've been fiddling around with this amplifier for a while. Can't get the wired network to work at all. Okay, so what I've done is looked at the instructions, and there's a setup app that you can use, but I couldn't get the network to work. It's all dead. Wireless. Although the Bluetooth audio worked, I was able to connect that to my phone and play the Bluetooth audio through this amplifier for a while. Then I switched modes and switched back and it wouldn't work after that. But I found on the internet in the manual how to do a factory reset on this, and now that I've done that, the network has come up, sort of. Well, it's now got like the lights flashing on my network switch. And even better, now that it's all reset, I can access the component connection by putting it into satellite cable mode. So that's good. So we're finally getting somewhere. I thought it was ruined, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's fine. It just needs to be reset. I guess whoever had it before disabled all the network stuff. That was the only thing I could think of. I was thinking this thing here was dead, but maybe not dead. Now if we're lucky, should be able to go to the website of this thing. It will tell us something because it's the wireless light on the front is flashing, which means it's in access point mode, which supposedly means you can just go to its default IP address. I'll let you know if I get anywhere with that. Look at that, we got there. This is the website of the thing, and it's got interesting stuff. Wiring Navi, so you can pick stuff. Don't have any MHL. That's the thing we want to hook up. Number of units. My TV, yeah, it's HDMI. Nah. Does it have control? No, we just want generic. And about my equipment. Should we do this? My digital tuner. What did I say? I had a digital tuner. Oh, this thing, I guess. Now we're going to say it's on component there. And what are we going to use for the audio? We have to use optical. That's right, isn't it? Because I'm going to hook it up to a D-VHS VCR. That's the whole point of any of this stuff, was to see if we can get the analog high definition video off the D-VHS. Yeah, so it's got an optical audio out, so I guess we'll use that. And my game console, yeah, that's what we were looking at there. No, it doesn't have that. Remaining is on that optical game console. I wonder what analog is. Anyway, audio, What do we want? I just want a 2-channel. I don't know, I don't want any of that stuff. I just want it to be a 2-channel system. Under 5.2. Under. Well, what happens if you say undecided? So what do I have? I don't have any of those things. I just have front speakers. Now, iPods? None of that. Yeah, I suppose I got that. Yeah, sure. Will I connect that and that? We will now start connecting other equipment. Oh, other equipment. So we've got that, that's done. There's no equipment. Connect the speakers. No video terminals. Now this business. Got the D terminal from the VCR going to the D-VHS VCR. What a long, boring, annoying video this is. The only problem is now I've got to try and find an optical coaxial audio cable. Now we've got to do that. Found a audio coax cable. Optical, whatever you call it. You have to move stuff around. Now that's done. Game goes into 4. Oh, it's already there. Okay, good. That aerial, yeah, we'll just pretend we got one of those. Memory sticks, sure. We don't need to change the names. We'll change the name of that to D-VHS. We don't really need to change anything else. Now we'll adjust the listening environment. Okay. Now I would... What? We've already done all this because we're on it. I don't have one of those microphones. So I'm going to have to kind of skip that, I guess. That's a shame. I don't think we can skip that. Right then, I guess we just go back to the start. Presumably it's... So look at this. You can click on this stuff and then you can go to those modes. Supposedly that did it. Okay, I want to try the D-VHS now. The only problem is all the space is used up. I have to do something a bit budget. Anyway, I'll try and hook this up and then we'll see if there's any good result. Alright, here we go. We've got D-VHS tape. For some reason the digital audio through that optical cable did not, the amplifier didn't do anything, and tried different modes, no luck. But using a standard RCA stereo audio cable, it came through. So I'm not really sure why it didn't work for digital even though we'd set it up. I managed to get the captured video stable by adding another splitter in series with the output from the amplifier going to the splitter that splits between that monitor there and the capture card over here. So I don't know why it needed that. This doesn't split out HDCP as it turns out, and this is a protected video, but it looks like the Magwell Pro Capture doesn't care about HDCP, so that's good. The Startec does. So now we get quite a nice capture image there. So there should be 1080i from the D terminal here from the D-VHS, and then that's getting converted in this amplifier to HDMI. HDMI without audio, which is a bit disappointing, but I'm not sure if I can do anything about that, because when you're doing it through an amplifier they kind of want the audio to come out of the amplifier, don't they? Oh well. There you go. So I think a successful repair from something that probably wasn't broken in the first place, but it was muddy, and we got rid of the mud and cleaned it, and in the process broke a pin off one of the connectors, which caused misleading faults to occur, and now it seems to be fine, and in the absence of a remote you can use this pretty annoying to use on-screen remote thing. So yeah, that's what you can do. I'll see how much of this audio, assuming you can even hear it, causes copyright problems. Same with the video.